It is my pleasure. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers for today's general meeting, St. Albert mayoral candidates Angela Wood, Bob Russell, Cathy Heron, and David Letourneau. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to speak on their platform. Earlier today, our 4 candidates drew a number for spots for the order that they will be presenting. The order is Bob Russell, Angela Wood, Cathy Heron, and then David Letourneau. We will not be asking questions, but if you have a question, please add it to the chat box and we will send all questions to the candidates afterwards. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Bob Russell to start us off.
Thank you and good afternoon. This is my final opportunity to talk to St. Albert taxpayers and to thank all who offered to have my sign on their lawn and for the many of the emails and phone calls. I also want to thank folks who commended me for taking a tough stand on the proposed solar farm and my demand for straight answers, and also those who told me to take a Google look at the Medicine Hat solar bankruptcy that was the result of getting into a solar farm electrical production business without going through a thorough due diligence process, something that St. Albert Solar Farm project is very close to following. As you know, I want the St. Albert Solar Farm project to come to a grinding halt until we can look at all the possible options for the Badger lands. That includes a thorough examination of the remedial cost of removing the top contaminated soil on the Badger land, which is still outstanding, as is the examination of the cost versus revenue projections that have not been done to date, along with a look at other options for this land. I've had a developer tell me it would be great to dig out all that contaminated soil, create a lake, and put good housing around that. Well, I don't know whether it is or not, but that raises the question of doing an examination. And while we are examining those expenses and revenue projections to get at the truth, I'm going to insist on a review of some of the spending that's been going on, such as the $145,000 of taxpayers' money that went to Global Edmonton, not Global Edmonton and District, but Global Edmonton, and there's more. I also support, as many of you know, the reinstatement of a municipal planning commission to ensure public scrutiny of all major development projects, including the enforcement of a standard for affordable housing so our sons and daughters can live in St. Albert. I also want to make sure that our new developments carry their own development costs and are not a burden to existing homeowners, as has been the case lately in Calgary. That's one of the things an MPC can do. While I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the community service given by 2 outstanding St. Albert women who left us recently. Margaret Plain and I served on council in our first health board, and I admired her work, dedication for all the years that we worked together. Liz Alshan is another special person, not only a passionate activist, but she was also deeply concerned about abused women, and she teamed up with my dear wife, Joanne, to try and find a secluded home for women to stay away from an abusive husband, rather than pull the children out of school and go to a shelter in another town. I can still remember how excited Liz was when Joanne found a Ridgewood Terrace condo for sale hidden on the back row next to the ravine, close to schools in transit, and Joanne used her own money to make a deposit to hold the property while they called friends and tried to get help from the city and civic organizations. And despite their efforts, no help came forward, and St. Albert women are still having to take their children to another town today. I'm going to ask our new council to join me in resolving this social issue. I'm currently the director of a specialized company working on a submerged oil pump utilized in orphan and active wells. I have lots of experience in school, trustee and counselor, and can do the job as mayor. In real life, I'm a paralegal with court experience, and I've just completed the restructuring of a mid-sized oil and gas company. And I'm qualified to design a critical path system in various ranges. And I'm prepared to talk about creating critical path systems for some of the things that we have to do. And finally, I'm committed to work with our new council to listen to their priorities as well, and together develop a legislative program of sustainability, transparency, and good government for the next 4 years, along with a dramatic decrease in in-camera meetings. This is Bob Russell. I ask for your vote on October 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we would like to welcome Angela Wood. Angela?
Thank you, Curtis. I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting today's event. A bit about myself. I'm married to my husband, Peter, and we have 3 children and 2 dogs. My professional and educational experience in law, risk management, financial and insurance sectors have provided me with the skills necessary to lead council in a positive direction. I will always do what is right, even when it is difficult. St.Albert is a beautiful, vibrant, and charming city. In order to maintain this, St.Albert requires the leadership of someone who could provide the strength, transparency, and integrity needed to guide this city. St.Albert currently lacks this leadership, and I am confident that I can provide this. St.Albert is advanced citizenship. The residents demand a level of leadership that can guarantee that the best interests of St.Albert are being met with the inclusion of the voices of our residents, and I believe it should be. Our council needs to be accountable to not only the seats that they hold, but to the very foundation for why they hold them. A matter of priority is to get our fiscal house in order. Simply put, we cannot move forward with any degree of conviction, confidence, or certainty if our financial affairs are not in order. There has been one internal audit completed in one department in the history of St.Albert, and this is unacceptable. We need to look at our financials in every department and hold department heads accountable. We need to look for efficiencies. Reckless and unnecessary spending must come to an abrupt halt. Excessive spending is a significant part of the issue, and that will be my priority to address. Proper due diligence is needed when we are looking at revenue sources. The solar farm and the MEC is a great example of a lack of due diligence, scrutiny, and objectivity when assessing viability and risk of a business venture. The financials to date show this to be risky. We need a mayor who will take the impact of financial risk seriously before moving ahead and ensure that they are taking the proper steps diligently and with purposeful intent of mitigating risk. Putting the city in debt for tens of millions of dollars is reckless and unacceptable. Transparency and communication. It goes beyond a casual Facebook video or pledge signed. It is through consistent action that transparency is seen. It is about providing all facts and figures concerning all matters of business to the public. It is about sharing the process, discussion, and rationale to which led to any decision and being open to each level of decision-making. Transparency is about providing a clear understanding of council's responsibility, and through this, provide assurances that council is always acting efficiency, with due diligence, and free from systemic influence. As chair, the mayor needs to ensure that processes such as in-camera use is not being used excessively or incorrectly, and to be certain that topics discussed in camera are only on the ones that should be discussed. St.Albert residents want leadership. They want a leader that they can trust and have confidence in. A leader who provides information when asked, opposed to allowing FOIP requests as a standard, and a leader who respects public consultation when sought. Growth within our beautiful city is inevitable, but it should not be met with concern or worry. As we grow beyond our current boundaries, we need to ensure that we can allow infill to occur while respecting the design characteristics and charm of our current neighborhoods. Current residents should have as much consideration as the new builds, and balance can be struck so long as all parties are heard and respected. The new annex land comes with a big challenge and excitement, and this requires a vision of what we want St.Albert to be and look like as we grow. We will need to be diligent in how we best approach the growth and change of our little city as it grows into a substantial one. Striking the right balance is critical and needs to include the residents of St.Albert. I am both excited and ready to take on that challenge. This plan, however, must include and acknowledge the impacts of COVID-19 and how it has impacted families, mental health, and our community. It is going to require patience, compassion, and tolerance while we develop strategies to guide us through. Moving forward, our challenge is not just to manage, but to lead St.Albert's inevitable transformation in a visionary, forward-thinking approach. I care about the future of my children, and this does not end at the 4 walls of my home. I care about the future of your children, and I care about our seniors to be able to enjoy and afford retirement in our community. We need a mayor and council who will plan for a bright and affordable future in St.Albert. St. Albert is an amazing place to live, and I envision the future of St. Albert as a community with the amenities we need, affordability, and a strong sense of community, and to maintain the standard as we grow. So on October 18th, vote for Angela Wood for mayor as we work together to build our city and improve the quality of life for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And next, I would like to welcome Cathy Heron.
Thank you, Curtis, and thank you to my colleagues for going ahead, and David's after me, so thank you for attending. Really excited to be here. So thanks again to the Chamber for once again hosting this kind of Meet the Candidates luncheon. It really is too bad that it needs to be virtual, as I always look forward to attending Chamber monthly luncheons. I feel like we almost got there last month, but anyway, I always attend and not just at election time. So part of my success as a councillor and as mayor has been very much tied to relationship building, which is why I never miss one of your lunches. I firmly believe in the power of the people that live in this city to assist our elected officials and our staff to find the solutions to our issues. My campaign slogan, and by the way, I really despise needing to come up with a few short words to try to define myself, but for this election, it has been proven leadership matters. I've been asked what separates myself from others, and my answer is always relevant experience as well as my track record of success. The job of mayor and councillor is very difficult. It involves a huge learning curve. I've seen the responses of many candidates that are running, and sometimes they start with, I will have a meeting with, or I will listen to, or I will learn this. And these are all great concepts for new councillors, but the mayor needs to already know these issues and start working on solutions right away. I've had the pleasure, and I honestly say it's been a huge pleasure of being the mayor for 4 years and the city councilor for 7 before that. I can say without a doubt that the 7 years I spent on council were critical to the success of this current council term. The next 4 years will focus on coming out of COVID, capitalizing on the subsequent economic recovery and collaborating with regional mayors and the province to create opportunities for our residents and our businesses. I've spent 11 years nurturing those relationships, and St.Albert is going to rely upon them to take the lead in the boom that is to come. Having an experienced mayor at the helm will allow St.Albert to lead the province for the next 4 years. So we've laid the foundation for great future success with Ray Gibbon Drive and many of our other infrastructure challenges addressed. Today, St.Albert is ready to flourish. The next term, it'll be vital to get Lakeview Business District open for business, dedicate large portions of the annex lands to commercial and light industrial, fill up our downtown with vibrant businesses, make room for entrepreneurs, remain competitive in the region while attracting global investment. I'm not afraid of the difficult conversations and hard decisions. I will continue to advocate for what St. Albert needs. I have worked extremely hard for our city over the last 4 years to find innovative solutions, be responsible with your dollars, and challenge the status quo. Together, we can continue to cultivate our vibrant, accessible, creative, compassionate, and green community. The only promise I will ever make is the one that I've been consistent in since the 2010 election. I was asked to stand up and make a speech that night, and I was a little surprised that I even won, and I was a little overwhelmed, but I stood up on a chair and I said, the only promise I will make is I will continue to make decisions for the next generation and not the next election. So again, thank you for having me. And October 18th is election day, and I really think it's going to be important that everyone takes their time to educate themselves and get out and vote. Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you so much. Next, I would like to welcome David Letourneau. Dave?
Thanks, Curtis. Hi, everybody. As Curtis said, I'm David Letourneau, one of the mayoral candidates. I'm not going to go over my entire platform today. I'm just going to go over a few high points, and I wanted to focus in on economic growth and development since this is a chamber meeting, so I thought it would be most relevant to this group. So I'll focus in mostly on that for most of the conversation, but I'm just going to go over a few high points that I'd like to touch on first. And the first one was response to COVID. So obviously that's been affecting everybody's lives for the last while now, almost 2 years coming up. But I think one of the first things the city needs to do is to step up and support businesses. Something similar to what Calgary had implemented, I think would be very beneficial here in St. Albert. There's been a gap that's been left by the provincial government and subsequently the federal government a little bit as well too, And I believe it's the responsibility of the municipal government to step up and fill in this gap. So, putting in something like a bylaw that enables consistency across the businesses, and it relieves the burden of enforcement from businesses and places it on the municipality rather than those already on the front line taking some of the brunt of this. So first things first, I think that we need to do that. Next part is I wanted to touch on accountability a little bit. I've worked in both the public and private sectors, and the one thing that I consistently see fall through the cracks in the public sector is accountability. One of the ways to ensure accountability is to have a well thought out strategic plan with robust measures. To quote the city's strategic plan, it says, St.Albert Council strategic plan guides administration's corporate and financial planning efforts. And it also states that it's the single source of direction for the city. So after I reviewed this plan, I see a lot of room for improvement. Having actual meaningful measures that monitor activities related to behaviors and actual targets set, and not just TBDs, is very important. I could say something along the lines of, I've been super healthy lately. I haven't eaten out for over 2 months. And somebody might look at this event and say, oh, hey, he must be pretty healthy. He hasn't eaten out for over 2 months. But in actuality, I've been crushing ice cream and 2-liter Mountain Dews for the last 2 months. And I haven't eaten a vegetable over that time as well, too. So that's just pointing to one event to say that, oh, he must be healthy because he hasn't eaten out in over 2 months. And that's not the case. So when you create a robust set of measures, you're not just looking at one specific event that happens. So same thing with the city can say, look at this economic development. We have this one business that's came in. So that doesn't make the strategy successful. And that's kind of one of the things I'd like to change, is having a more robust strategy with measures implemented as well. So one of the fundamental barriers that I see to economic development in St.Albert, the first off is our development costs. St.Albert is in the 260,000 to 310-ish per hectare range. Other comparable municipalities is 70,000 to 180,000 on the high end. So just right off the get-go, when developers are developing the land, that's very expensive. And you know where that cost gets passed down to? That's leases, rentals, and that sort of stuff for businesses on the front line. So I do think that the city needs to be more proactive in approaching some developers. Currently what we've had in the city to date has mostly been land banks and pension funds, and some smaller investors as well too. And mainly those developers kind of develop one way. They'll make a build to suit, but that's going to be tied to a long lease, or you're going to have rentals, and there's not a whole lot of chances of ownership for business owners. So I do think that we need to approach some developers who have some, similar goals as the city. And when looking forward to develop some of our lands, we can work in partnership with them to develop some potential ownership opportunities like the ones that have just opened up. I think it's just north of Costco there. There has been some of that. So, St. Albert's inventory has historically been low, 1 to 5%, and this doesn't stimulate growth, and it doesn't provide opportunities for businesses to get into the market in our city. And if you're already in the city and you're looking to move, or you're looking to open up shop in the city, there's not a whole lot of options for you with such a low inventory for rentals or leases. So I do think we need to change that. Municipal government has a property tax incentive. It can also be leveraged. Surrounding municipalities have done that. We haven't, so I'd like to see that. So those are just some of the things. Also, big projects going around right now. Shell, Polaris, Itochu, the Dow ethylene plant's been announced, and I think St. Albert can position itself in a strong position. So I just like to take an analytical approach to building the community. I don't believe that the city needs slashing and burning. I think it needs investment, and I'm a community builder with a wealth of experience. And I think that, putting investments in the right place can yield some of the best results. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, David. We got some time for a couple of questions, well, at least one question. So I think, as much as I pride myself in wrapping meetings up quickly, and I haven't done very much of that in 2021, I think we're going to hop into a couple questions. So we'll go in reverse order for this question. So David, we'll go David, Cathy, Angela, Bob. And sorry to spring this on you guys, but hey, we'll rock and roll. So David, we'll start with you. And the question is, what do you feel the best way to communicate to residents is to deliver information and also to gather intel? David?
I think we need to use a variety of, mediums to do so. So whether it's through the newspaper, online, direct feedback and reaching out to hold forums and that sort of stuff. So I don't think that there's one specific one that is best. I think it's the combination of all that makes it successful.
Okay, and what role do you think social media has to play in this?
Well, social media is bigger and bigger. I think the biggest thing when it comes to social media is, I guess, the accuracy of information and making sure that it's a consistent message across all the mediums as well too. So, making sure that message is consistent and, the active engagement on social media as well too. So when, questions are asked, answering them in a timely manner as well too, and not just kind of, I guess, letting it sit there and percolate where, suspicions or other things can come up and not be the actual facts in that case, kind of thing.
Thank you. Cathy?
So communication, much like Dave, I think we need to have every tool in your toolbox utilized because people access it in their own preferences. So many read the Gazette, many watch Global News in the morning, many just turn to social media. So I think we need to be on all those platforms. As a city, I mean, as mayor, I think it's pretty obvious. I tend to go to social media because it reaches a lot of people very quickly, and it's immediate. So I use Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I allow for that back and forth conversation on the Facebook Lives, so we can, as best we can, come face to face. I do like the face-to-face, I prefer it. So we started the barbecue in the park this year to meet with council. I mean, obviously, it's pretty simple to send an email and set up a meeting. That's always simple. But as a city, we also, I think, need to explore some of the work that we've been doing lately with, reaching out to residents. We pick certain groups, whether it's the chamber or social not-for-profits or some of the business communities, and bring them into a room and ask them questions to help solve our issues. And I would also think that when we're back in person, the Chamber's Roundtable is another really great way to communicate with the business community. And so I would love to propose topics and attend, and vice versa. So those are some of the simple ones.
Thank you. Angela?
Thank you. I echo David and Cathy with respect to this question. There are so many different ways that people like to get their information, and whether it be through newspaper or mailers, social media. I do believe that we need to be making sure that we are catering to all demographics to ensure that they are being informed. So the worst thing that we can do is eliminate or ignore any one of them, because then we are ignoring a certain group of people who choose to get their information in a particular way.
Thank you. Bob?
Yes, well, one of the most effective arms that we have as a municipality is an economic development division. And I was part of getting that some years ago, that we move into that area. When companies think of moving into your area, they need that kind of help. They need good information, good statistics. And I'm so pleased with the way we're doing that in that building we have on Grosvenor and Grandin. So that's a big step. The other thing is our own chamber, and they're doing an excellent job of communication. Get your chamber members to talk about our city, talk about our needs, talk about our potential. And so I'm glad to see that happening as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I think, we've got time for one more. So we will go on this one, Angela, Cathy, David, Bob. So the question here is, what is the most innovative revenue solution you have for the future of St. Albert? So it's a tax efficiency question.
I think before that question can be answered is we need to look internally. We need to take a look at our financials. We need to see where our money is going, where it's being spent, and is it being spent efficiently and effectively. We need to be looking at finding any efficiencies that we can, and that from there gives us an appropriate picture to look outwards and to see how and what we as a city need, and then move forward into seeing what we could and should be doing to be able to increase revenue.
Thank you, Angela. Cathy?
I'm so glad this question's been asked because this is the most critical question out there. You know, we have looked internally. We have an internal audit department, and we have residents that sit on that. Sorry, it's not department, committee. And of course, the operational review did examine every department in the city. The one thing they came up with is that we are running quite lean, but they did give us some recommendations that I'm sure the next council will pursue. So beyond that, you need to look at new revenue, and we could talk about the solar farm, or we could talk about the Energy Corp, but these are opportunities that other municipalities are embracing and keeping their taxes down due to them. EPCOR is the perfect example, keeps St. Edmonton taxes down by 9% what they would be without EPCOR. That's just one example. My issue with this whole election is that no one is throwing any ideas on the table other than criticizing the ones that are happening right now. We're doing our due diligence on all of these opportunities, and we will never enter into something that does not benefit the city of St. Albert and its residents.
Thank you. Cathy? David?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, agree again with Cathy there. If you actually take a look at some of the internal reviews there, they weren't, there weren't things that were strikingly obvious where you can save, a bunch of money. And from what I could tell with lots of the review of the financials and stuff, the city is running pretty lean. Not to say that there's never any improvements that can be made. That's absolutely true. I think there is. And I do think it's, on the revenue side that we do need to take a look at. And again, like I had said before, I do think that, we do need to start looking at, maybe not outside the box, but there are traditional revenue streams, like I was talking about before, in terms of positioning St. Albert as a service hub to lots of those big projects in the region happening right now. I mean, we don't have an ASP yet for Lakeview, and that's been a while, which is a little bit, I guess might be a little bit frustrating and puts us behind the ball a little bit if that's what we're looking to do in terms of opening up spaces for potential, suitors to assist in servicing some of those big projects happening in the region. So, I do think that's one of the definitely one of the ideas where I see the most potential for St. Albert in terms of addressing some of that is on the revenue side. So.
Yep. Thanks, David. Bob?
Well, this may sound old-fashioned and not very innovative, but, keeping taxes low, providing good information, being a hospitable community. I like what David said about becoming a service hub, being known for something. Those are the areas I think I would go to attract new business. And we've got to keep our eye on the ball. 70-30 has to be our next goal in terms of taxation.
Thank you, Bob. Well, thank you, everyone, all the participants who have chosen to seek office in the 2021 municipal election. Thank you for letting your name stand. It's an important part of democracy. And I know it's challenging. I've seen it firsthand. And thank you so much for the courage to run for office. So we will remind everyone our next luncheon is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. And thank you everyone for attending today's luncheon. And we will now adjourn the meeting at 12:49 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.